Hey, you're watching Tristar Diggin. My name is Sam, and most of the times when I get into a job, I kind of know what I'm doing. Well, sometimes I don't, but I try to get it figured out. But in this situation, I've got myself into a kind of a mess here that I'm not sure how this is going to go. This could go smooth like warm butter, or it can be a total disaster. And what I mean by that is I bought a 40-foot shipping container yesterday. It's a high cube, which is 9.5 foot tall. And I bought that from Kyle at Chattanooga Containers. If you want to check out the containers in the Chattanooga area, you can check out ChattanoogaContainers.com. I'll put that on the screen. Kyle's a good guy, and customer service is important to him. He got me loaded up and got this thing to the house. Now then, I've got to figure out how to get it off. They do deliveries as well, but there was an issue getting into my driveway with the trailer they use for a 40-foot container like that. So I thought, I've got a trailer, I'll just go get it. So that is a big old container, to say the least. All I have here is the skid steer and the Mini X. I hope I don't have to go get the dozer or the Cat 313, the bigger excavator, because they're at a job site. I do not want to have to go get those. But we're going to see what happens as we go through this little journey right here. My first obstacle, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but I have an overhead electric fence line that comes over here to a pole and feeds my fence to keep the cows in. I don't know what the height is for that, but I do know that's like 12'6". We'll pull up here to that wire and see if I can get under. If I can't, I'll have to unplug the fence, take that wire down. That's just the first of many obstacles to come, so let's see what happens today. Okay, that is a success. We've got about a foot of clearance on that wire right there. So far, so good. Now the next obstacle is the wet ground down here at the barn. We've had, they said this morning, 8 inches of rain already in May, and it's only the 12th. It's not even half the month gone, and I haven't worked in a while. It's been a muddy mess, and I'm expecting to have some issues with this trailer getting it where it needs to go. I've got it down here at the shop now, and I really wish, because Kyle and I talked about it, that I want the doors on the front of the trailer, on the back of the trailer. Now I wish I had the doors on the back of the trailer, because I could unload it right here with the doors being on this end. I could just pull it right around there to where it needs to go on the other side of the dump truck, other side of the barn. But that wasn't my idea when I picked up the trailer. My idea was to get the trailer turned around and back into here the same way that I am. And then I'll just slide it off and pull it around there. Wasn't a lot of good thinking going on this one to get that to work right. Kyle does have a dolly that he can hook up to a container like this and put it pretty much wherever you want it. But I thought, I've got a trailer, I'll just go get it. And here we are. So I'm gonna think just a minute here about what I'm gonna do, and then I don't really have a plan. So it's just gonna be, we'll figure it out as we go. First thing I need to do is get this panel hitch trailer out of the way. And I'll get the dump truck fired up, build some air pressure on it, hook up to it, and just pull it out of the way. I want to put the container right in this area right here, a little bit farther back so I'm not in the way of parking trailers right here in this front. I think the next thing I want to do is I'll get the skid steer out with a trailer mover and move this gooseneck back. And I think what I would do is back this container right in there where that trailer is. It's kind of a side hill, but it's not too bad. Not as bad as if I went on the other side of that trailer. I'll get that one moved, and then I think I'll back this one in there, turn it around, and then back the container back into this area right here and pull it off in this area. That's the thought. So let's get this, well, I've already got this truck in the way. Get this truck out of the way, get this trailer moved, and see what happens from there. Hope it starts. It's been a few days. Oh yeah, started right up, so that's a good thing. We'll let that build air pressure. Of course there's mud in that. Why wouldn't there be? ought to be good enough. While I'm at it, I need to move these two trailers a little bit so I can mow around them. I've mowed a couple times and haven't moved them, so it's kind of growing up around them. Now then, we'll get back to what we're actually doing. Missed that by about a foot. Try again. I think I got it that time. Third time is a charm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, get the air lines hooked up and get the brakes released and just get this thing out of the way and see if we can get that other trailer turned around. I've got the trailer up here completely out of the way, so I don't have to worry about them at all. Now then, let's head back down there and get some more work done, try and get this figured out. And while I was at the house, I decided to get me a cold Dr. Pepper to kind of calm my nerves a little bit. I'm kind of worried about pulling that container off. And that thing slides off sideways. It has no way to go but turn over sideways. So let's get down there and get that thing turned around. See what happens with it now. While we're close down here by the pasture, we'll take a look at old Romeo. Romeo is a registered Simmental Angus cross bull. If you remember back a couple years ago on the channel, if you've been around for a while, you remember me bringing in old Romeo. He was just a little bitty baby. I say little bitty baby. He wasn't very big at all, but he's a monster now. He's a good old bull. He likes to shake that head, but he'll let you pet him. Likes to lick your hand a little bit. Oh, he's a good one. I've got about 4 cows left. Originally started with, well, over the years I've had as many as 15. And kind of scaled down from that. I got 4 now. A lot of those cows got old. Some of them had to be sold because they wasn't having calves anymore. Matter of fact, one of these hadn't had a calf in a couple of years. Time for her to go. But I've kind of thought about selling off the cows and selling Romeo and just raising some beef calves for a while. I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna have a hard time letting old Romeo go. I haven't decided fully to do that yet. Let's get this container turned around. I don't think I'll have any, it's kind of sidling back there on the side of a hill. I don't think I'll have an issue with it. We'll get it turned around here and hopefully we'll be taking it off here in just a minute. And that tail swing is a good point to make. If you're not familiar with trailers or pull a lot of trailers and have experienced this, the axles are right up here. So the 2 axles are here. So all of this area from here at the back of the axle back to the back of this trailer, which it's a lot more since this cube is on it because the trailer actually stops here. So there's a decent amount of tail swing there anyway. And then when you add another, 4 foot or so of this cube, what happens, and I'm a long ways away from that tractor, but as those axles right there pivot, this tail end doesn't just follow in the same path, so to say, as the wheels. What it does, it tail swings. It will start sliding over and before you know it, you've hit something over here that you wouldn't have thought because of that tail swing, that way that it swings over. Maybe that makes sense, but the first day I got this trailer with that big long tail on it, I was pulling out of an intersection, not realizing how long that tail was. I mean, I was within inches of tail swinging into a car. Wasn't a good feeling at all. Maybe this will be a good viewpoint. As I pull out, maybe you can see that tail swing doing exactly what I mentioned there. And I'm not turning real deep either, so the tail swing is more exaggerated when you're turning real sharp. I want to get straightened up here now and back it right back in there where we was. I think the trick, or the most important part of getting this cube off of here, is having a little bit of side tilt to it. And it does have, it's a little bit lower. These axles, this side of the axle is a little bit lower than the other side, which gives it a little bit of side tilt. Because I think as you start pulling it off, it's going to want to slide to the low side. I think that's probably going to be my biggest problem. I'm going to back up just a little bit and then kind of get that a little bit more level, so to say. Get these straps off of it and then come up with the game plan. I think, well, let me just go ahead and mention this. This is a hydraulic tail trailer. So from that pivot point right here, there's a hinge right here. This trailer, when I start to lower it, it's actually going to go up and unhinge itself, and then it's going to come down. I don't think the box is actually going to start tilting down until, you know, you get center point of it right there. So let's get these straps off and get that tail drop down, see what happens. I had a couple of these 4-inch straps, but I went to Hobo Freight yesterday, picked up a couple more. These things were $50 a piece, which I guess that's cheaper at Hobo Freight than it is other places, but man, I thought that's a little high. There we go. It is no longer connected to the trailer. Let's lower this hydraulic tail here and see what we got. I gotta switch it over. Right now it's hooked up to my ramps. Wasn't quite ready. It's switched over to the ramps, to the jacks. Gotta get switched back over to the back. You just do that by, there's a little switch right there, or valve. Flip that around. And now then, let's try that again. All right, now we already have a problem. It went up about 1 inch and then it quit. That tail is rated to lift 10,000 pounds at the center of it right there. But when you factor in all the weights back on the tip, trying to raise that whole container up, not gonna happen. That trailer, or not the trailer, the box, what I was told, weighs 8,300 pounds. And it's just a lot of weight on the very tip of it there to raise it up. I think what I'll do is bring the skid steer around here. I've got the forks on it. I don't know if the skid steer will pick that up or not. I'll find out. I'm gonna lift that up and get the weight off that tail and be able to drop it down. Maybe, and it sounds like a good plan till it doesn't work. What I need to do first is get these arms spread all the way out so that it's not tippy. Well, it's probably gonna be tippy anyway, but this will help. All right, that's as far as they go. And what makes this possible is that I have a remote control in my hand that allows me to work that hydraulic tail without having to be outside up there using the manual switch. Get up in here as far as I can, just right there, see if it's gonna pick it up. Boy, barely. See if it got enough weight off of it to drop that tail. I can't see and I can't hear. It felt like it raised it up a little bit and dropping it down, but I cannot tell. Yeah, I'm looking, I'm squatted down in the skid steer and I can see it going down now. All right, that tail's down. I don't know what's gonna happen here, but I'm gonna let the weight off of this container by letting it down. Oh. All right, well, it didn't tilt down, so that's probably a good thing. Let me back up here and look at it and scratch my head and think. I think what I'm going to do now is use an idea that Mike Miller came up with. He said I had to give him credit if it works. I'm also going to give him credit if it doesn't work. So we was talking about sliding this container off, and I was worried about it sliding one way or the other based on the tilt on the trailer. He actually had a good idea. Because I have these stake pockets that run the length of the trailer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some 2x4s like standards and put down through here, probably make several of them down there. One 2x4 by itself is not going to do anything, but several down through there would keep that trailer from maybe sliding off this way, because it is tilting a little bit this way. If it's going to go anyway, I think it's going to come this way. And then back here on the back, I thought about, well, that won't work. Even that idea won't work. I first thought about coming up here with a skid steer and buttoning up to it real good and chaining it off to the forks, but I can't do that because I can't get out of the machine with the forks raised. The other bad part about that plan is if I'm chained to it, pulled in against it, if for some crazy reason the container tried to slide off and turn over, chained to it, it could possibly flip the skid steer over as well. That's plan A. Plan A is going to go plan Z, because that's not going to be a good idea. Now what my plan is, I'm going to hook a chain to this corner here and to that corner there and hook it to the skid steer, and I'm just going to gently pull it this way until it starts tilting down because of the hydraulic tails down. Start tilting down like that, let it settle, and then just keep easing it off, and hopefully it doesn't come over this way. Got those on now, and the reason I didn't put any up through there is because when that container gets to a certain point, it's going to raise up, which is probably going to make these two right here a moot point also, I suppose. But I'm hungry. I'm going to go get a bite to eat. Think about this just a little bit more, and then something's going to happen, right, wrong, or indifferent. Okay, I am back from getting a little bit of bite to eat there, and it's always a good idea to kind of step back for just a minute and think about your plans. And you can have a ham sandwich at the same time. So I have thought about this a little bit more, and I have rethought this situation. The way that angle is right there, when I start pulling on that container and it reaches the tipping point, that could be fairly violent. That container could slam down pretty hard and could come off that trailer sliding to a degree, or to a point to where that end right there dives in the ground and stops, which could flip this side up and cause it to slide over. That is a thought that I've had, which basically makes these boards up through here that I put in useless when that thing tips. So the plan is now is I'm going to raise this tail back up so that tail is just barely below the edge of that. And I'm going to start pulling the container out until I feel the weight hit that tail right there pretty firmly. And then I think what I can do is ease that tail down with that weight on it and ease that container down to where it touches the ground. So I was thinking about this a little bit more, and also the reason I want to do it like I just mentioned is because if this thing does tilt, as it is with this deck all the way down, and start sliding, if I didn't move quick enough with the machine, I guess it could slide into the machine, and we don't want that to happen either. So let's get this tail raised up to a point to where I can feel the weight of the container hit that deck. That's probably pretty good right there. And now that as we come off, it's only going to drop from there to there. And then I'll pull it just a little bit more and then ease it down. Okay, here we go. And I am just a tad bit nervous about this. I need to see what that looks like. And I tell you right now, I can already feel that container sliding faster than I want it to. Yeah, I got a little bit more to go to get that weight on that trailer. You know, I'm actually gonna raise that up just a little bit more because I don't want to start sliding off. Okay, here we go again. It doesn't slide smooth. It's like it's getting caught on something up through there, maybe one of those little cross pieces, and then it just lets go all of a sudden. All right, I felt it move just a little bit there. I'm gonna pull it just a little bit more right there. All right, the weight should be on that tail. I need to pull it one more time, I think. It'd be really cool if I had somebody here that could watch where y'all were standing from and kind of tell me, oh. Well, one more, and just a little bit. Oh, right there, it's all I want to do, because it is teeter-tottering now. Get this machine unhooked and get it out of the way. Here, Deese, that's not a safe place. Come on, here. You get out of there, it's not safe. You go over and get the barn. Now then, Diesel, come over here. Get up here. Down. Stay. Okay, now Diesel's out of the way. I think the weight is on the pivot point right there. I'm gonna let this down. Worst case scenario, I guess it falls off. I don't know. I'm a little nervous. There we go. That's working. That is working. Let me get up here on the upper side of it, because I just saw this end right here pop up, and that way I'm out of harm's way as well. All right, here we go. We're gonna let it down. Come on. Woo! That's exactly what I was thinking it might do, was slide off there when it got that pivot point. All right, it is on the ground, at least that end is. And now I just noticed something, my hooks that I was using to hook the chain in, they're buried about 8-10 inches in the ground. All right, let me figure out what I can do to get those chains back on it and then ease it off. I hope that once it's on the ground, the skid steer is going to be able to pull it, because it's on sleds. There's outside runners and there's runners on the inside of the outside runners. That didn't make sense. There's 4 runners across the bottom of it that should scoot on those, I hope. I just thought of something I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to raise that tail up just a little bit, see if it'll slide off anymore. Well, it's actually picking it up. Now then I can get to my hook down here. Let me get something under. That was a pretty good idea. Not for what I really wanted it to, but I can get to this now. And kick a little bit of rock underneath there so I can get to that and let it back down. It's not gonna scoot off anymore, which it probably don't need it to. Let me let it down. Good deal, I can get to that now. I actually just had shut the camera off and just had a better idea, I think. I'm gonna raise the tail up to where it's not dragging the ground, which is right there. Now then the bumper that goes down and hits the ground first is not touching the ground. Go up a little bit more. And I'm actually gonna pull the truck up really slow, since this end's on the ground now, and see if I can pull the trailer out from under it until it gets to this hinge point, and then I'll drop that tail back down and pull it the rest of the way off. That way, if it starts sliding off a trailer, it's not gonna slide off that as high as it is right there. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna go real slow and careful and see if this is even gonna work. Nope, it's dragging it with me. Come on. I wanna go in reverse and bump it one time. It's not gonna slide off. Let me give it a little gas. There we go. There we go. Now I'm dragging it again. Give it a little bit more gas. Nope. As my grandson Henry would say, nope, that didn't work. Oh man. Maybe I can drop that tail just a little bit more. I'm gonna keep going until I do something wrong. But I'm gonna drop that tail just a little bit more and see if that hinge point is maybe keeping it from sliding on off. Let's see. Now I'm wishing I hadn't done that, because now then the trailer, the container is sitting a little bit this way off the trailer. That one board is keeping it from sliding off. I think what I'll do is see if I can take the skid steer and push it over a little bit, take some of these wooden boards that I've got, put them down the edge of the hydraulic tail, drop it all the way down, and try to ease it off again. Everything was really going pretty smooth and according to a plan until that last little try that I made with the truck. But it is scooting over. I really do not want to tear up my trailer. That's the most important thing. All right, that is over far enough now to where I can get those boards in. I'm gonna move the skid steer back here to where I can pull it off. Now those won't come out because that's in the way. Gosh, that one will. And that one will. And they won't go in because it's in the way. Now I'm going to have to come up here and push it over. I'm starting to get aggravated, and that's when things start going bad. So I got to kind of regroup and think about it and not make a mistake. Woo, boy, that thing slid farther than I thought. Thing actually slid pretty far. Now then, let's get back there and pull this thing off. Got the chains hooked up, and diesel really needs to move. Try to ease this thing off now. Working pretty good, but it's getting caught about every 8 or 10 inches on something. I want to see what I might be damaging my trailer. I'm a long way into having this thing off the trailer by now, but when you order your container from Chattanooga Containers, just say, hey Kyle, bring that dolly, bring that machine that can put it where it needs to go. Because he could have unloaded that down at the road. He could have trucked that thing in here with that dolly, put it right back in beside my barn where it needs to go, and been gone 2 hours ago. But then I wouldn't have a video, and it wouldn't be near as much fun, maybe. So I'm looking underneath there. I see what it is now. And probably as it comes off there and gets flatter, see these ribs right here? They're little cleats that the machines grab a hold of. Well, there's one right here up on top that you can't see. And as this thing comes down, it's getting caught on every one of those ribs that are up through there. Oh man. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's right in there. So actually what I can do, because that one over there is riding on top of it, let me go show you that. And then I can come back over here and take the skid steer and pick it up and push it over just a little bit. You know what? Let's just get it off here. It's gonna come off. Oh, wow. Just what I thought. It did get hung on that. Wow, 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 wow. All right, I've got to scoot it over. Okay, now then it's on there. I did have to stop and take that care of. Now then you see what I was talking about, that little cleat right there. That was on the inside of this rail, catching on every one of those ribs. Now then I'm gonna take some blocks, a couple blocks from the other side, put those in here, and that'll keep it from sliding over and doing that again, hopefully. Now what? It's hung on something else. What now? Wow, it slid off against those boards, went right back over on that thing like it was a few minutes ago. Let me think and figure something else out here. I've got the skid steer behind it as an anchor. I got tension on the chains that'll hold that. I'm gonna try one more time to kind of ease out. I think easing out from under it with the truck is gonna be a smoother pull than pulling it with a skid steer. Because as I pull the skid steer, it's hopping, and that's not good for it. So let's, well, that's not hurting it. It just don't help my plan. Wow, it just keeps getting more difficult. I put a board underneath there so that hopefully when this got to it hit that board and right over it. It's not. It's caught underneath there on them channels going up through there. Now then that board's in the way. Well, I'll tell you right now, this is turned into, it's not even fun anymore. I really just want to get this off. If I had the 313 here, different story. The 313 would pick this up and I could set this thing off. No problem. I could figure out a way to get it off. Much easier with that, but that's not where we are. I really messed up when I put that board crossways because it's getting, like I said, getting hung on every one of those rails underneath there as it's trying to come off. What I'm going to do is use this old farm jack. I just want to get this corner raised up just enough so I can get that board out. And when we get that board out, I think I can ease it on off like I was doing. Oh, wow, that thing's heavy. That thing is not safe at all. These jacks will kill you. I knew better than try to use that. These jacks will get you in trouble in a flat second. My mistake. What it's done is it's come over here to the side and got caught on those 2x4 rails through there. But that jack is it's ready to give way. And that's the trouble of them, is when you get weight on them, they'll kick to the side or kick out. I probably should just throw them things away. What I think I'll do now is use the tail, see if the tail will pick it up enough to, one, I can get this jack out, and two, I don't know if it's gonna pick it up or not, and see if I can get that board out. Let's see what it's gonna do. Hopefully, it'll raise it up. Let's see. Actually, it is. Wow, that works. All right, the jack's loose and that board's loose. Let me get that out of there right quick. And I do not even want to think about putting my hand underneath there. Let me figure out something to get that out with. There we go. Got it. That's been my trouble for a few minutes now. Get out of here, you stupid board. That looks pretty good with that tail jacked up the way it is. It's got this lifted up off of that. It's not even touching. I'll whip through there. I think I can leave that tail raised up like it is and start pulling out from under it. And eventually this is going to come down and meet that, and then maybe I can jack it. I don't know. We'll skid a little bit more of it off, and then we'll see what we do from there. I'm gonna drop the tail just a little bit. See if that helps. Yeah, that did. That got a bunch more of the box off the trailer now that it's got down to this part where I knew I was gonna have an issue, is that this part right here is down below this cleat, as you can see right there. Let me raise the tail up again, see if we can get it up above that. Well, it's trying. Boy, it did. It sure did. It actually did pretty well. Raised it up nice. Now then, while that's holding there, I gotta figure out some way or another to keep that from getting caught on each one of those cleats as it goes down through there. Let me think on that a minute. Found a board that I can slide underneath there this way, and it'll let that container ride on that board all the way down. Now then, that'll work. So it'll set down on that board running a long ways, and it should just scoot right back on off. Now then, that should act as sleds and help me, I hope. I'm hopefully optimistic. Kind of felt like it got hung on something. Let me look at that. Yeah, I got hung on this sideboard thing I've got in to keep it from sliding off. Let me scoot it back over. And we are close, folks. We are close getting this thing off here. I'm gonna put this other board underneath here because there's some more of those ribs in there at the bottom. Now then, that should let it go right on off. I'm not so sure what it's about, but I see part of my taillight lens underneath that side over there. I don't know how the taillight got busted out of it, but I guess we'll check that out and we'll get it off. I can't drive out from under it with the tail on the ground. I just now realized that. I knew that, but anyway, that's not gonna work. I think what happened on the tail light was it just popped out, and when it popped out laying on the ground, when I let the tail down, it just smashed it. I can pick up another one of them. So I think what we're back to now is dropping this tail back down like that, hooking a skid steer to it on the back, and just go ahead and pull it on off. All right, y'all holler if you see any problems up here. I'm not stopping, I'm coming off there. I hope it's off. Okay, it was moving and I was not going to stop, and hopefully I didn't tear anything up. It doesn't look like it. Thankful these boards. Mike, that was a pretty good idea, keeping that thing on the trailer. I think we are in good shape. Finally, that thing is off. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that thing is off. And the only thing that I broke was the tail light. And I might have broke my patience a time or two. Oh, wow. It's off. That's the important thing. Get this trailer out of the way. I'm going to see if that skid steer will turn it and pull it back in there where I need to go. I hope so. I've gone this far. I really want to get it back there. Now then, I think we are ready to try and pull this thing into place. I'm hoping I can pull it. Need to get in a position where I can pull in a different direction. Let's try that. I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. Chains could be a little longer so I could kind of get in a better position to pull. Let me unhook and get in a little better shape. All right, got a chain hooked a little different. See if we can get this thing to come our way. Come on, trailer or container. You ain't a trailer. Come on. Come on. Wow. All right, let's try to push it then. If it don't want to go that way, we'll try something else. That's going pretty good. I'm gonna get it back here even with the front of the building and close to where I want it. Then I'm gonna go push the back around. Well, that's as far as it wants to go. That was going pretty good, and then it got bottomed out in the center here. So now it's teeter-tottering like this, and those railings that go up through there, they have dug into the dirt, and I can't push it anymore that way. I'm gonna work on it here a little bit, seesaw it a little, and see if I can get it to start moving again, and we'll see if I can't get it pushed back where it needs to be. That helps a little bit. Let's see how far we are even with the front of the building. Well, we like a good ways to go. Probably another 8 feet or so. Sometimes you just gotta grit your teeth and get a little aggravated at it. a mess, what a mess. I have a mess to clean up here. But that ain't no problem, we can take care of that. I got that pretty much where I want it. It's pretty much lined up with the front of the building now. I'm probably gonna work just a few minutes here, see if I can seesaw it up the hill. About 10 feet, I'd like to have the edge of it somewhere right in here. But I'm gonna work on that for a few minutes and try to get it placed, and I gotta run over to a place where I've got some cap blocks, some 4-inch cap blocks and some mobile home, I don't know what you call them, platforms or something, foundations. They're plastic, they're like 2x2s or 3x3s, whatever they are. They'll go down as a base on the ground, and I'll put those cap blocks and get this thing leveled up. And ideally, if that's a permanent location where you're gonna put a box like that, you'd wanna build yourself a pad, maybe put some rock down and get it good and level. And for the most part, they can just back those containers in where they need to go and drop them right on your pad without causing a mess like I caused. But this is somewhat a temporary location for this box until it's not, and then I guess it's gonna be permanent. It's probably never gonna be moved. But I am gonna get leveled up with some blocks and put a bunch of junk in it that's gotta come from another place for storage. So let's get this thing, put it in its place and get it leveled up. I have made it back now with the stuff that I want to use to level it up with. For now, I've got it scotched up on some blocks there and then down the side, plenty high enough to where I can get this on grade and then lift it up, take those blocks out and set it back down where it needs to be. Found those mobile home plastic, whatever you call them, deals there. And then I went and picked up some cap blocks at another place that I have. And we're gonna get this thing leveled up. So now then I'll get the laser out, get it set up, shoot some grade on that very front corner up there. That'll be my grade for the other 3 corners. We'll get this thing set up level, and I'll bring you back and take a look. And then we'll crack the doors on it and see what it looks like on the inside. Woo, I finally got it. My goodness, that was a lot of work, especially by yourself. And this is not one of those DIY projects. I would definitely hire Kyle to haul it and set it in place with that little machine he's got. And I would have built a pad and had him set it on the pad. That's a lot of work. I finally got it. Let's take a look at the finished product and we'll see how I did. This one took a full 4-inch block and a 2-inch block. This one took 3 4-inch blocks and a 2-inch block. And then up here at the front, of course, that one corner on the far right side there, if you're looking at it, it's sitting on the ground. But this one only took 1 4-inch block and a couple of those mobile home pads. But anyway, it is sitting there and it is on grade and level. And it's going to settle a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that because what I'm putting in here is just stuff that I've collected over the years, and I sold the place and I needed a place to put stuff. So that's what this going in here. Now then, let's open her up and take a look and see what's inside. Maybe there's some treasure in there for all that hard work. Well, I don't see any treasure. The only thing I see in here is heat. Man, it is hot in here. This thing traps heat pretty good. But this is gonna hold a whole lot of stuff that I just need to get out of the way. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed it. I learned, well, maybe I enjoyed it a little bit. I kind of learned a few things not to do next time, and maybe you learned a few things not to do, and most importantly, not to try this because it was kind of a wreck. But anyway, give old Kyle a call at Chattanooga Containers. He'll deliver it. He'll set it, get his machine, set it in place if he needs the machine. If not, he'll back a trailer up, drop it right off the trailer, gone. Then you can do the finish work, get it all set up like you want it. Anyway, God bless. I appreciate you watching. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that video of what not to do when you order yourself a shipping container. Boy, that was a mess I got myself into. But I'm glad it gets set in there now and I can use it and not have to deal with it anymore. I mentioned maybe that it was temporary. No, my wife was, she was watching the video as I was editing it and she heard that and she's like, no, that's gonna be there for a while. And it will be. When I get that thing full, I'm not gonna want to deal with it any longer. But anyway, what I want to talk about in today's message, it's a common question that I've had in my life, and it's a common question that a lot of folks, Christians, have had in their life as well. And that question is this: how do I know what God's plan is, or how do I know what God's will is for my life? You know, and that's a really good question. That's a question that we need answered so that we can kind of get an awareness and an understanding of what it means to know God's will and plan for our life. So I want to put it this way. You know, back in the day, we had in cars and in our houses and the boom boxes of the day, there was a dial on that radio, and you had to turn that dial to the station that you wanted to listen to. And as you got closer, you'd hear that station come in, and then eventually you'd have it dialed in to where there was no static and it was all the radio station. You know, that's a lot like our spiritual life. How do we know what God's plan and purpose for our life is? Until we begin to dial our lives in to where we understand what God's will and purpose is. And how do we know that? By reading His Word, praying and studying to know who He is. And He wants us to know what His plan and His will is for our life. It's not that He's wanting to hide it. He wants to reveal it to us. But we have to dial in our lives, dial out the static of the world around us so that then we can clearly hear what God's Word and plan for our life is. So as we begin to do that through reading the Word and prayer, the things of the world begin to grow distant. They begin to not have that kind of draw and interference in our life, the static in our life, so that we can then begin to hear clearly what God is telling us. And it's important that we know that God's will and plan for our life it happens by a sense of peace. We begin to get a peace about what we're doing in life and how we're following God and the things that He's called us to do. We begin to get a peace about that, to know that we are in God's will and purpose and plan. I just want to share a quick story. There's a time in my life when I had a decision to make involving the business that I have now. I had a really good opportunity to go to work for another excavation company with a really good salary, really good benefits, and a really good job. Something that I had, probably had dreamed of. But and then I also had the opportunity to get this business started, to see if I could make it on my own and to grow this business. And so I sought some advice from a godly person, and I asked him this question: how do I know? Both of these are great opportunities. How do I know which one to choose? How do I know what God's will is or God's purpose and plan in this is? Because both of these are great decisions. And this person simply said, follow the Lord's peace. So I didn't actually know what that meant at the time, but I began to pray and to seek out God's will for that. And as I began to look at both opportunities, I began to feel the presence of God's peace and the presence of God's peace drawing me more to the business that I've started today. And I'm thankful that I did. Not that job wouldn't have worked out and done well, because it would have. But I was drawn to the business that I've started today, which has led me ultimately to starting a YouTube channel and sharing the gospel and message of Jesus Christ literally with people all over the world. It's amazing to me what God is doing through this YouTube channel and what He's doing to reach out to people in other countries. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me. But that's what I want to talk about in this, is that as we begin to dial in our life, God's peace begins to reign. God's peace begins to speak to us, and then we get an assurance that we are where we need to be. The passage of Scripture that I want to look at today, we find in John chapter 14, verse 27. It says this. It says, peace. Now this is Jesus speaking to the disciples, and He says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Jesus was assuring the disciples there that He was leaving His peace and He was going to leave it with them. God has a plan and purpose for our life, and we can find that through the peace as we begin to tune our lives in to the purpose and plan that God has for us. I hope this has been an encouragement to you. I hope it's helped you to understand what you need to do and what I need to do to find that peace in God's will and purpose. And that's literally to dial out the static and dial in the life that God has for us. So I hope this has been encouragement to you. I hope that you're trusting in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. If you haven't, it's as easy as ABC, R. I like to add the R. Admitting that you're a sinner, believing in who Jesus said He was, confessing that Jesus is Lord of your life, and repenting, turning away from sin. That's the recipe for salvation. Placing your faith and trust in Him to have that home eternal in the heavens that the Word would tell us that we have as a Christian, as a believer in Jesus Christ. So God bless you, and I appreciate you watching.